17 people hurt in an MTA bus crash in Baltimore this morning. What we know about the crash so far is several victims were taken to the hospital.
And another mass shooting late Friday night in Baltimore at a crowded intersection. Acting Police Commissioner Richard Worley's message ahead of what could be a violent summer.
And Governor Wes Moore's crime plan met with backlash from his predecessor, while former Governor Larry Hogan says it's time to stop playing the blame game.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
Good evening. I'm Maxine Stryker.
And I'm Vincent Hill. We begin with a developing story. 17 people injured after an MTA bus crashed this morning in Baltimore.
It happened along Packard Street near West Mulberry Street. Baltimore fire officials say the bus crashed into another car just after 10 o'clock this morning before crashing into a nearby apartment building. 5 people were sent to shock trauma, but none of the injuries appear to be life-threatening. The building was partially evacuated. A fire department spokesperson explained the procedure.
Our special rescue operations team, they deemed that the building is not compromised. There is some damage. The first level of the building is condemned. However, the upper levels of the building remain intact. They were able to observe steel beams vertically and horizontally that support the building, which remain intact.
It's unclear what may have caused that crash. We'll continue to follow this story and bring you updates on air and online when they become available.
A violent start to the weekend in Baltimore. A 65-year-old lady gunned down Friday morning, then 6 people shot in Northeast Baltimore Friday night. We also heard from Acting Commissioner Richard Worley speaking to the media at the crime scene for the very first time. Fox 45 News is looking into the uptick in crime as BPD transitions to his leadership. A spent bullet and several bullet holes. Remnants of a mass shooting at Cold Spring Lane and York Road. The youngest victim, a teen.
Got a 17-year-old male, juvenile, GSW to the left leg and to his foot. 6
people shot in total, including an 18-year-old girl.
We believe they are all have non-life-threatening injuries at this time, but we're not 100% sure because they're still working on a couple of them are in surgery.
Acting Commissioner Richard Worley giving his first press conference since being appointed by the mayor last week, explaining the shooting from his years as a street cop in Baltimore.
This area has been quite challenging. I was here in the northern several years ago. It was quite challenging then because it's just a lot of people that gather in this intersection.
Worley's challenge not stopping with the mass shooting while investigators were piecing together what happened.
307 Charter for the shooting, discharging. Following the block of red or a fresh ticket. Anonymous caller at the top of the block. Caller heard loud gunshots, about 15 to 20 guns.
What the governor's doing is saying, I'm going to give you the resources and the tools you need to address your problem. I'm not going to dictate to you. I'm not going to be an overseer or a master.
Armstrong Williams is sitting down for a one-on-one interview with City State's Attorney Ivan Bates. Now, during that conversation, the two talked about his transition into the office and his public safety fight.
What we're saying to individuals that have illegal handguns that perpetrate violence, that door we're focused on is the door to hold you accountable. Now, we still believe in the wraparound services. We still believe in reentry programs. That's very important to help you change your life. But if you have an illegal handgun in Baltimore City, we're looking to hold you accountable. And accountability, we said, looks like the former jail.
Bates also spoke about parenthood and the role fathers play in a child's life. Don't miss our Your Voice, Your Future town hall tomorrow at 5 o'clock right here on Fox 45. It'll also air tomorrow night at 7 on MyTV, and you can watch it anytime on foxbaltimore.com.
It's been a very, very nice day outside today. We had nice and dry weather, lots of sunshine. Really a great day to spend outside, and it looks great tomorrow as well. We're in for a gorgeous day for Father's Day. Current temperatures around the state are mainly in the 70s. We've got nice and clear skies, and we will stay pretty quiet and clear overnight. Here's a current look at the HD radar, and we have a cold front moving over the region. Behind that cold front, nice and dry weather ahead. We do have some showers and storms toward New England. That all stays away from us as that weather maker continues to push toward the Atlantic. So tomorrow, we're looking at high temperatures reaching the upper 80s, keeping us above average. Then on Monday, highs will be in the low 90s for just the second time this year. Then on Tuesday, it's back to the mid 80s. Temperatures will be a little bit closer to average. It'll be a great day to get outside. But later in the week, we'll have our next chance for rain. I'll have a closer look at what to expect for the next week in my full forecast. Back to you.
Is on Monday, and today members of Pennsylvania Avenue African Methodist Episcopal Zion Church are celebrating their culture with a reunion and cookout. Today's festivities included free food, African drumming, crafts, and other activities. Voter registration was also available on site. A special Juneteenth worship service will be held tomorrow starting at 9 in the morning. Juneteenth became a federal holiday back in 2021, and Monday marks 158 years since the end of slavery here in the U.S.
And AFRAM is underway at Druid Hill Park, one of the largest African-American festivals on the East Coast. Governor Moore in attendance, hanging out with Mayor Brandon Scott and speaking to the crowd today. Jason in these pictures showing off their outfits in front of the stage. And Ryan Jackson doing the same, giving us a little video from the festival. Looking good. And plenty of local artists are performing. DJ Sun sharing this picture from one of the stages saying he's ready to perform tomorrow. AFRAM continues tomorrow from noon to 9 p.m. And if you're at AFRAM, we want to see it. Send your pictures to FOX45 Morning News. All you have to do is scan the QR code on your screen. It will take you to foxbaltimore.com/chime-in, where you can upload your pictures and videos. It's powered by Stackler.
Coming up, Russian ties to a cyber attack at Johns Hopkins University. What the hack is revealing about the current methods to keep your data safe.
A juvenile murder suspect set free for nearly 2 weeks due to a clerical error in Baltimore. How this could have happened and the budding safety concerns.
And President Biden officially launches his re-election campaign, his message to union workers ahead of their widespread support in 2024.
The personal information of thousands of people, including some living in Baltimore, may now be in Russian hackers' hands.
Johns Hopkins University, one of at least 20 organizations targeted in a widespread cyber attack this week. Fox 45's Taylor Stewart spoke to a data security analyst about how to protect yourself.
We spoke to a cybersecurity analyst who says the attack that hit Johns Hopkins University and several other agencies is one you could see again as technology evolves and hackers stay one step ahead. The hackers breaking into Johns Hopkins University and health system, stealing personal data, including names, contact information, and health billing records, according to the Department of Homeland Security.
They're just ruthless. They're not good people, and they don't care who they hurt. They just want to get paid.
Cybersecurity strategist John DiMaggio says ransom groups have grown increasingly sophisticated at extorting personal data for profit. This week, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency identified Russian-based group CL0P as being responsible for the breach.
Unfortunately, it's an epidemic. Russian-based ransomware groups are this is all they do all day, and they hire basically hackers to work for them to go out and conduct all the attacks. So where it used to be one gang of people, now you have hundreds.
And oftentimes, hackers are steps ahead, discovering and taking advantage of vulnerabilities in a system's software. DiMaggio says in this case, they were able to break into an internal system called MoveIt, giving them access to the hospital's payroll service provider.
Basically allows them to just open the front door, walk in, take the data, and walk out. John Hopkins is not alone in this.
The Russian hackers breached several federal agencies. It's not clear how much money they're asking for, but they are looking for a payout and threatening to leak private information otherwise.
Basically what happens now is you have a timer. That data is either leaked or sold to other criminals, and they're asking for, these ransoms in the millions and millions of dollars. Unfortunately, the real victims are the people whose data is actually exposed.
Leaders with Johns Hopkins say they are still working to learn the scope of the breach and warning people affiliated with the health system to monitor bank accounts, consider changing your passwords, and keep an eye out for suspicious emails. The question really is now, how vulnerable is your personal information that's stored online?
Yeah, I think today we're at a point where you just have to assume that any information that you put out there may one day be at risk. That's just the world that we're living in today, unfortunately. We're working to change that, but we're not quite there right now.
Taylor Stewart, Fox 45 News.
A recently declassified government report is shedding light on how the intelligence community obtains and uses Americans' data and how loosely regulated those practices are. Things like location tracking, purchase history, web browsing are collected by data brokers and available to the public for purchase because anyone can buy it. The government doesn't have strict rules for how it can be used, which some argue could be a breach of the Fourth Amendment.
If the government is trying to investigate you or investigate a crime, they generally have to go get a warrant and be put through the normal due process. But this ability to purchase data from data brokers is essentially a big workaround. The military has purchased, for example, geolocation data gathered from Muslim prayer sites and dating apps in order to track users.
Bipartisan legislation has been introduced in Congress to block data brokers from selling data to the government without court oversight. The bills have been stalled for more than a year.
Still ahead, an updated timeline on the Philadelphia bridge collapse when the state governor says the road will reopen. Making headlines, a police officer shot and killed overnight in Virginia. Officer Mark Wagner with the Wintergreen Police Department near Charlottesville was shot around 10 p.m. Police say he was chasing an assault suspect. Wagner tracked that man down in the woods near a home where he was shot and killed, the shooting shattering the small town.
I'm sure that Officer Wagner's family expected him to come home last night, and he didn't. They have never had a line of duty death. This is a shock to the community and to the officers and to the chief.
The Wintergreen Police Chief says Wagner was a dedicated servant willing to lay down his life to protect the public.
Tomorrow marks 1 week since that I-95 bridge collapse in Philadelphia, and today President Biden took an aerial tour of the area, which has been closed for reconstruction ever since. The White House has already allocated $3 million for its repair. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro says his state is chipping in an additional $7 million. Shapiro says he expects the road to reopen within 2 weeks. President Biden also holding his first major campaign event since he announced his bid for re-election. Today he spoke in front of union workers in Pennsylvania, who he credits with getting him elected in 2020.
I look out in this crowd and I see a lot of old friends, a lot of folks, as they say in Claymont, Delaware, who brung me to the dance. I told you when I ran for president, I'd have your back, and I have. But you've had my back as well.
In addition to labor unions, Biden is also endorsed by 4 of the nation's largest environmental groups.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken arrives in Beijing this weekend in a bid to reduce tensions with China. He's the highest-ranking American official to visit the country since Biden became president, and the first Secretary of State to make the trip in 5 years. That trip was originally set for February, but was postponed after the U.S. shot down a Chinese spy balloon. Multiple states are considering bills to make most drug possession legal. It follows a trend in Canada and Portugal to emphasize treatment over policing. But one state could provide a cautionary tale. Spotlight on America's Chris Daniels takes us there.
There was a time when the Rose City smelled sweet.
I feel like when I grew up, we had an independent spirit. We were kind of tougher than everybody else.
Erica Hetfeld is a third-generation Portlander who had settled in with her family to the affluent neighborhood near Reed College. A dream home near the cherry blossoms and a tea shot from downtown. What changed?
There are 2 types of people in Portland. Someone who's had something happen to them and someone who will have something happen to them. There's no in between.
Hetfeld says her perspective changed after a man broke into that home and stole personal items in 2021. She says police were slow to respond and the man was never found. And so she moved to the suburbs, frustrated by what she says is a city with an addiction and public safety problem.
You get in more trouble in Portland for parking in a handicapped spot than you do having a baggie full of fentanyl that could kill a busload of kids. That's wrong.
Data from Portland State University and USA Facts shows that people have been leaving Multnomah County, which includes Portland, almost 9,000 people since 2019, at a time when fentanyl overdoses have gone the other direction. People we talked to on all sides believe Oregon Measure 110, which decriminalized personal possession of drugs and was approved by voters back in the fall of 2020, changed the direction in this city. The number I've seen is fentanyl ODs up 588% between 19 and 2021.
Correct.
How much does that state measure factor into what you're dealing with here? Ted Wheeler is Portland's mayor. His city could be a cautionary tale for states now kicking around a similar idea.
Part of it is because we don't have substance use disorder treatment to any great capacity in our state. Measure 110 was brought to the ballot by a group of Oregon residents with the hope that on one hand they would decriminalize small amounts of personal use of drugs, but in exchange there would be substantial new resources going into treatment.
Sarah Holland is the director of supportive housing for the nonprofit Central City Concern.
Not only the increased presence of fentanyl, but the strength of it.
And works to stabilize the lives of some 13,000 Portlanders. She says the challenge has only grown in the past few years.
We have an infrastructure problem that can't meet the need that existed before Measure 110.
If you're a drug addict on the streets of Portland, and you get free food, free housing, free water, free needles, and have $2 fentanyl, why would you put yourself into treatment if you don't have to go?
With everything you just said, what's the solution?
In my mind, we have to repeal Measure 110 that legalized hard street drugs. The folks who passed that measure promised treatment instead of jail time for drug addicts.
Until then, Hetfeld believes there will be more people like her heading further down the Oregon Trail as long as the crisis remains at the front door. I'm Chris Daniels for Spotlight on America.
Coming up next, new leadership working to improve quality of life in Baltimore, how police plan to crack down on low-level crimes.
And they're marvelous. They show us powers that we don't even have inside.
Play ball, how a group of superheroes is teaming up to show the power of inclusivity in Baltimore.
And it'll be a nice and quiet night as temperatures drop to the upper 50s and low 60s. It sets us up for a gorgeous day for Father's Day. I'll let you know what you can expect for tomorrow and the upcoming week in my Weather Authority forecast.
Two developing stories at 10:30 now. A suspected killer in Baltimore accidentally released and allowed to roam city streets for nearly 2 weeks. And a memo sent to Baltimore police about how to handle quality of life crimes like trespassing and loitering. We begin there. Going after low-level offenders has been a staple of City State's Attorney Ivan Bates' agenda since he took office.
Fox 45's Keith Daniels looks into the latest guidance on how police plan to enforce it.
Well, that new citation initiative kicked off this week, and tonight, more guidance for officers on how to enforce it. Baltimore City returning to order. Seemingly the message from City State's Attorney Ivan Bates.
You must be accountable.
His push to bring back accountability with his new citation initiative to tackle low-level crimes. Tonight, as first reported by the Baltimore Banner, word of a memo issued by Acting Police Commissioner Rich Worley that lays out in detail how officers should carry out enforcement for several so-called quality of life offenses, including open container violations, urinating in public, suspects. The memo gives officers guidance, for example, telling them what arrests can be made now without supervisor approval. Among those offenses, drug possession and prostitution. Those that still require approval include loitering and littering. Bates' new citation docket is a stark contrast from its predecessor, Marilyn Mosby, who stopped prosecuting crimes she considered low-level during the COVID pandemic, making the policy permanent in March 2021, insisting there was no public safety value in prosecuting such crimes.
We're back in session for State's Attorney's Office.
At Bates' budget hearing last week, Mosby's husband, City Council President Nick Mosby, peppered Bates with questions about the new plan.
What is your office going to do to ensure that it's enforced fairly and equally throughout the city? You're going to also look at it, I assume, from a race perspective as well. And you guys are going to keep those statistics and be able to report out on us as it relates to the citation program.
Yes, that's one of the things we want to do.
Mosby expressing concern with how equitable the citation docket will be. It's one of the reasons why Marilyn Mosby made the policy change 2 years ago.
You know why? Because it's disproportionately impacting people of color.
But Bates insists this plan is fair, with the end goal being getting those who need it help through wraparound services. Well, citations may be issued to people 18 and older. Now, the first and second offense, defendants will be offered community service and a referral to those wraparound services. Now, a third offense could land you a prosecution. Reporting tonight, Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News.
Meanwhile, Fox 45 News is learning a juvenile who's accused of murder was accidentally released in Baltimore, free for almost 2 weeks before being arrested again. The city says an error allowed for the suspect's release back on June 2nd after his charges were dropped by mistake. The error wasn't discovered until about 12 days later, at which point the sheriff's office worked to get the suspect back behind bars within 24 hours. Attorney Kurt Nachman says the mistake could have been deadly. It's not the first time he's seen something like this in Baltimore.
I know for a fact, based on cases that I've been involved with, that it's happened. Maybe all it really took was one number in a court file for a dismissal form to be transposed, and this person would have been released.
Nachman says Baltimore City is the only jurisdiction using paper files and forms. It's unclear which homicide the suspect is charged with or when it happened. In a statement, Ivan Bates said the sheriff's office and the state's attorney's office remain dedicated to collaborating closely to ensure the safety and well-being of Baltimore City.
Some major weather concerns on two fronts in Texas. Part of the state seeing record high temperatures, putting massive strain on the power grid. Elsewhere, at least 3 people are dead, 75 injured in the western part of the state after tornadoes ripped through the area. Governor Greg Abbott issuing a disaster declaration to help the town of Perrytown pick up the pieces.
The rebuilding process is probably something the city has never dealt with this level of magnitude ever before. And we have made clear that the state of Texas and Texas state agencies are here to help in any way we can.
Over the past week, we've also seen severe storms in Oklahoma, Ohio, and along the Gulf Coast.
Yeah, certainly prayers there for everyone affected. But you know what? Tomorrow is my day. So, Jasmine, how's that Father's Day forecast looking?
Well, it looks great. You are in luck, and all the dads planning on spending some time outside are in luck. It looks great for Father's Day. Today wasn't bad. Tomorrow looks even better. Hotter temperatures. It's going to feel more like summer with highs getting closer to the 90s. Right now, though, we are pretty quiet. Temperatures currently at 74 over Baltimore. It's a little bit foggy. Our visibility is down to 6 miles, so if you're traveling tonight, that could have an impact around Baltimore. But for the rest of the state, mostly clear with temperatures in the 60s and 70s. Oakland, the outlier, currently in the 50s. But as we head into the night, temperatures will gradually fall. We are looking at a quiet night. We'll stay mostly clear before sunny skies in the morning. And that leads us into a great Father's Day forecast. We'll have highs in the upper 80s. Gets even hotter on Juneteenth with highs reaching the low 90s. After that, temperatures will be slightly lower and closer to average. And we have an unsettled pattern for the week. We're talking the chance for at least very stray showers as we head from the middle of the week through the weekend. Notice on the future scan, we stay nice and quiet overnight. We'll wake up to plenty of sunshine in the morning. Then for the afternoon, our high temperatures reach the upper 80s. We'll have plenty of sunshine before clouds move in. As we head into Monday, though, we do start with a few more clouds. It looks pretty great, though, until the evening. That's when we could see a couple of stray showers and possible storms closer to the state line. Most of us will stay dry throughout Monday. It's Tuesday when we could have a stray shower, possibly an isolated shower on Wednesday, and rain chances increase after that. So we're talking spotty showers and potential storms on Thursday, more rain on Friday and again on Saturday, and that could have impacts on your weekend plans, but it doesn't look like any of the days will be washouts. 58 for the low temperature with mostly clear skies. Then tomorrow for Father's Day, highs will reach the upper 80s. We'll have nice and quiet conditions, plenty of sunshine, so good weather for spending time outside with Dad. Then on Juneteenth, temperatures will be hotter, 90 just for the second time this year. 86 on Tuesday, 80 degrees on Wednesday, so a noticeable change in temperatures. 82 on Thursday, that's when we have the next chance for a few spotty showers. After that, 86 on Friday with scattered showers, and we have another chance for rain on Saturday with temperatures in the mid to upper 80s. Back to you.
One local father on a mission to make sure that baseball is a game that can be played and celebrated by everyone.
Yeah, Fox 45's Megan Gilliland and photojournalist Nathan Aaron take us to the ballpark to meet some superheroes in tonight's Maryland Moment.
Brody's over there, and there's a whole nother team. You want that to come with you?
It's not just any Saturday at the ballpark. It's the championship game. The finishing touches are being made to perfect the diamond. And one by one, the town of Manchester, Maryland is arriving with some of the top local players and mascots cheering from the sidelines. You can feel the excitement. Team Marvels is ready to take the field. Brody Vaughn steps up to the plate.
Brody, let it rip. Go, Brody, go!
And he's off. What might be a single for some. Turns into a double for Brody.
Nice hit.
The crowd is into it. And for some of these players,
Go, Dylan! Go, go, Dylan! Go, 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 go!
it's the first time those cheers are for them.
Many of the players on our team, sometimes they're the cheerleaders.
Chris Vaughn isn't just the coach of Team Marvels. He's also Brody's dad.
Brody started asking a lot why his sister plays and he doesn't. I don't like to say disability, but his ability is different than others and it's invisible sometimes. Brody's diagnosed with autism at 2.5 years old, and he was nonverbal for a while. Brody asked, Dad, why can't I play on a team? And I said, you can. We'll make one for you.
And Team Marvels emerged.
They're marvelous. They show us powers that we don't even have inside.
Giving these superheroes a chance to show their skills.
Go, 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 go! Run, 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 run!
An opportunity to play.
I wanted to offer the Americans pastime and go past just the play to actually teach too. They got to work on the overhand throw. They have to work on the catch. They have to work on that swing. You got to try one challenge once.
Now in its second year, they are stacked with 15 girls and boys who just want to play ball.
You're gonna get the ball!
Everybody's son and daughter is important. Some of us get opportunities others don't. And my whole goal is to just open the doors for them and let them walk through.
I hit the teapot first, then the next time I did it, I hit it in the air. Thank you!
And the best part's right there at the end, how they all just come together.
Thank you! Thank you!
What do we say, guys? 1, 2, 3,
We win every day. Team Marvels, we never lose.
And anyone that gets the chance to watch these athletes play,
Oh my God, you got a medal?
wins too.
Working with a child who sees the world different and has to navigate it a little different than we do, it humbles you, it teaches you grace, patience, and to be truthful, it really teaches you that it probably doesn't really matter. Just put a smile on. You should be happy to get another day.
I'm so proud of you. Did you have fun? Yeah.
Go, Brody! In Manchester, I'm Megan Gillen, Fox 45 News.
Well, how cute is that? But what's better than some bark with your beer or maybe a pint with your poodle?
The Baltimore Animal Rescue and Care Shelter holding its annual Barks Crawl this afternoon. Dozens of dog owners flocked to Federal Hill, some with their dogs alongside them, of course. 15 bars participated in the crawl, offering specials and discounts to those in attendance. It's also a huge financial help for Barks.
It allows people to participate and support Barks in a less direct way than maybe adopting or fostering an animal. It also helps us get awareness out to our neighborhoods that Barks is here. We support not just animals and families, but our businesses and our city. And then also it's just a good time, and animals make me happy, and we want to share that with everybody.
They make everybody happy, right? The animal shelter is at capacity, though, and organizers say this is a great way to participate, even if you don't want to adopt.
All right, still ahead, some friendly competition to tip off Father's Day weekend. Sights and sounds from Friday's father-son basketball game in Upton. Curry for 3.